Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mark Loeffler Experience. We got my good friend Alex Powell back on the show. Woo, 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 woo. He actually watched the market update video this morning and he forgot to smash the like button. So don't be like Alex, everybody. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm.
And I forgot to comment.
Yes, always comment. Jeez, Alex, what are we paying you for?
Not much.
I'm not paying. Anyways, we digress. Obviously, in today's environment, it's pretty hard to buy properties. I mean, I see wholesalers out there and I see properties on the market, and it's pretty stupid right now in Ontario.
Even the wholesale deals are like, if not fair market value, like above, and they're getting it.
Yeah.
Just because sometimes people don't have to compete. You know, it's just crazy.
Well, they're competing for wholesale deals too. I've seen like where they've had five and it went for over what they were asking.
Yeah, it's nuts. To be honest with you, that's one of the hardest things right now that we're going through is we can't actually find deals. We've got a whole list of joint venture partners down on our whiteboard of people that are ready, cash, willing to throw down, and it is just challenging trying to find something that's going to make sense.
All right, so finding property, you got money.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know you flipped a bunch of stuff. Yeah. You refinanced a bunch of stuff. You just refinanced your Cannon Street building, which we're going to do a redo on that coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah. We haven't gone through the refinance just yet. It's going through the appraisal part, but it's all done. We're getting it leased, and it is there, and it is awesome, and I cannot wait.
So maybe what we should do is a side-by-side comparison on that Hamilton building that you bought, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And the 15-unit Alberta building I bought last April that we're going through refinancing right now.
Let's do it.
We should do a side-by-side comparison. Comment down below if you want to see a side-by-side comparison of our building out in Edmonton and Alex and Brian's building here in
And depending on the results, we may start buying in Edmonton.
So you just mentioned it, that you bought a 5-unit out in Moncton. We talked about Edmonton. I guess that is one of the strategies if you have joint venture partners or you have money, is to go to another area. And that's why Sudbury is crushing, other than nickel prices went up 200% overnight. These smaller towns are obviously getting a lot of interest because, they're still affordable. Like you can still buy in Kirkland Lake for $60,000 a unit, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one strategy, right? Definitely.
Like our strategy is always buy on cash flow. And I'm confident enough in the southern Ontario market with just, the amount of immigration that's going to be poised to come in the next few years, just with the amount of industry that we have, and just in general, like southern Ontario is a pretty great place for people to want to settle down. So if I'm finding a property that cash flows, or I can BRRRR it out to the level where it will cash flow, I still think it's a good deal.
I totally agree. Okay, how are you finding those properties in southwestern Ontario though?
Yeah, it's very challenging. So of course we have marketing. Like if we want to do a whole marketing segment, that's be a video on its own. But what we've done that's been very effective, that requires a little bit of legwork, and I find that even when I've said this a number of times on different podcasts or whatever, or even we have a YouTube channel as well where we actually have a video of us door knocking in certain areas. People think is glamorous or whatever, but then they just don't do it. And then people wonder how we get good deals is because we're constantly driving around, we're looking for crap that's in the neighborhood. And I'm not saying, these properties, like if you see the roof shingles are curled up, or if you see that nobody's cut the grass in 6 months. There's another one I drove by yesterday, had a boarded up front door. So I'm going to go back to my office. I'm going to look at, okay, who's the seller or what's their name. I'm going to go on Canada 411. I'm going to see, okay, do they have a phone number associated with that address? I'm going to start to do a little bit of research, go on Facebook. You kind of got to creep the system a little bit. And if you can get in touch with these people, you don't realize how often people are just unaware of what can or can't be done. And people are like, you would buy my property for how much? Really? Yeah, let's meet there on Friday. And like nobody realizes that sometimes you just got to do that little bit of legwork.
So I guess the key to buying properties in this market is effort. They're just not going to come to you.
Well, have they ever just come? I don't know.
What they used to in Hamilton.
Well, even then, I remember.
Well, you were still in diapers when they were coming to us in Hamilton. Like,
yeah, all right.
Like you weren't around in the good old days when nobody was buying multiplexes downtown. And
well, I remember looking at properties for like $250, and I was like, oh, this is just too expensive. And now I'm like,
well, that's because I was selling those for $150,000 like 3 years before, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe 4 years.
And so
I kind of date myself. I'm old, everybody. I'm old.
I can tell by the gray hair.
Yeah,
Don't cut that up, Blake.
You'll have that soon.
It's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming.
yeah. Those amount of kids that you keep popping out, you'll have some soon. All right, so I mean that's the thing. It takes effort. We had dinner with a guy on Monday night. He bought a multi-unit building. It was north of 20 units, and it was like he bought it for like $3 million, right? Like 100. I think it was $130,000 a door or something like that in Sarnia, but. Because he's the king of Sarnia. If you ever look at his phone number, that's what he calls himself, the king of Sarnia. But basically what he did was, he's like, okay, I only want to buy in Sarnia or outlying areas. So he went and mapped and got all the addresses for anything purpose-built multifamily in Sarnia.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went and looked up the owners. Exactly what you said. He would greet them. He would go on Kijiji and look if they were renting to get their phone number, right? He would never mail them, by the way. He always just phoned them. And he'd been talking to this person for 4 years. His original offer on the property was $1 million. And he just bought it for 3.2 or something.
Yeah, time on task over time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, one really good strategy that we've been implementing, and it's a good way for somebody who wants to get into the business, who maybe has done their research but doesn't have working capital. We've now done this on 4 different occasions with 4 different people, is we partner with the homeowner. And so I'll give you an example. We actually BRRRR'd one out where we stayed on as 50-50 JV partners on the rental, but we agreed on a buy-in price of their rundown property. They fronted the cash to renovate it. We coordinated all the work and did all the heavy lifting. They're out of towners, so they couldn't be there to like manage the property. And then eventually we now have the place rented out, and then we refinance it, and we're 50-50 partners, but they're owed their equity portion that was the original buy-in.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a flip that's like that right now with the original homeowner. We did another one on the Hamilton Mountain with, so I was in competition with 2 other wholesalers on this deal, and they were trying to see if they'd do like a vendor take back or whatever. I said, you know what? How about we just partner on this 50-50? You guys front the capital. I'll do all the work. We'll convert it to a legal duplex. And funny enough, the guy ended up retiring. And long story short, we decided that it would just be easier to sell it. And from when they would have sold it, I made them an extra $150,000. And we got to pocket $150,000 for like 4 months of work.
Yeah.
That I didn't lift a hammer on.
And it's just because you door knocked and the market went stupid.
That's it. That's it. So anyway, I think that in this market, in any market really, creativity will win. I think that
Well, I don't think what you do is creative.
Well, yeah, I'd say it's more creative than the conventional, I'm going to call my real estate agent and wait for them to give me a deal.
Yes.
Because that's not creative, and I think that's what most people do.
Yeah.
So I think that being creative is you have to think outside the box a little bit and try and come up with different ways to find what you're doing, because no one else is going to find it for you.
Yeah.
Right? So.
But I mean, there are realtors who go and do this as well for their clients, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're,
for sure.
Obviously, you're not saying that, but and you know, like, people door knock all the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Getting out there and doing efforts.
Yeah.
Like, and there's obviously other ways of doing it. I mean, we used to be cold callers, right? So we would cold call everybody. There's people who
Cold calling's still good.
Yeah, I agree. But and there's people who do flyer drops, right? All these wholesalers, like, they're spending massive
Yeah.
amounts of money on
I feel
flyer
like the
drops.
flyers lately have kind of washed out, because I see people that, you know, you go to their houses and they've got like stacks of these cards.
Well, I
It's like-
agree, but I mean, it seems to be working. Like, they're
Yeah,
getting
for sure.
deals. I mean, they got to go into the outskirts a little
Any
bit as
marketing
well.
is good marketing, I think. Even bandit signs that I see people putting out there, I don't necessarily believe in bandit signs, because I think that the online presence right now is so powerful. For if I need to sell my house quickly, I'm not going to go drive around and look for a bandit sign. I'm going to Google quickly, how do I sell my house cash? And the funny thing is that if somebody isn't even thinking about it, but then drives by that sign, that bandit sign that says we buy houses, they're not taking down your phone number. They're going back home and they're Googling we buy houses, and whoever comes up first, that's who's getting it. So
Well, I mean,
you
that's
may be advertising for other people, just saying.
here's the thing. Google AdWords, Facebook
Yeah,
ads.
those are the most prominent, but they're so freaking expensive.
They
Yeah,
are,
those
but I mean,
get on them.
then you got stuff like being a realtor, right? If you want to be a wholesaler, or if you want to get properties off market, you got to think, okay, how does a real estate agent attract listing, right? Like, I'm up north at the cottage, and I hear radio ads for wholesalers.
Yeah.
Like, up north, and I'm like, man, the wholesalers are radio ads. That's awesome, right? So I mean, it's one of those things. Like, yeah, you want to sell your cottage quick, wholesaler will come in and boom, make a deal for you, right?
For sure. For sure. And to be honest with you now, the average seller is not starting, but they're very, very aware of the value of their home and how easy selling is. Everybody know, and real estate's a hot topic around the kitchen table. So any seller who's sitting there is thinking, like, oh, I can get however many dollars for this, and I can have 3 offers lined up, and they're right.
Yeah,
they can.
They can have 20 offers.
Totally. So that's a hard thing for, I'd say, sometimes real estate agents, and there's obviously scripts around that to create a value proposition for yourself. But I think that, the average guy who sticks out a Home Depot sign and is stubborn and doesn't want to pay commission, there's an opportunity for investors to come in there and say, listen, you don't have to pay me commission at all. I'll take it cash right here.
Yeah.
Done.
Those are still few and far between, but...
Yeah, it doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
But still, you got to work towards it, right?
Well, and it's just being open, and like all these things we've talked about is being open and putting in a little bit extra work.
I also think, though, too, for anybody who's like really trying to gain some traction, you got to have a database. So when I go out and I look for a property that has, meter high grass on the front yard or something like that, I put that address down, I put who the owner is down in a database, and then I have kind of a, system of like, when do I follow up next? I might very well send them a letter.
So you have a database,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to cut you off. People hate it when I cut people off on this, by the way.
I wonder why.
Let him finish his thought.
Go ahead.
I want to get into, database. I can write down things and I can have a list of things. Like, what do you do with it? Like, do you call people monthly? Like, are you mailing them monthly? How are you touching those people?
Okay, that's a good question. I think that first and foremost, if you're not in contact with the person, the first goal is to try and get in contact with that person. You'll go bananas if you try and do that every single day. So if I call somebody and I think I have the answer, like let's say I get an answering machine, I won't necessarily leave a message on the first round, but what I'll do is maybe I'll try a different day in the evening and call them in the evening. Maybe they're at work or something. I'll just introduce myself, say, hi, listen, my name's Alex. I drove by your property. I'd be interested to know if you might be thinking about selling now or in the near future. Right? And sometimes you get an old FU, right? Or sometimes you get like, we're not really thinking about it now, but, something that we're keeping on the horizons. Or sometimes you get a call like, I don't even know where I would begin to sell, but I've always wanted to sell. And just like, okay, well, maybe we can help you in this process. And like, why are you thinking about selling? You learn as much as you can about the person, and you see if you can genuinely help. Because if you go at it with, in the real estate world, they call it commission breath. If you go at it kind of slow panting, they're going to get scared away, right? But if you go at it from like, okay, well, do you actually...
I know that worked with you with your wife.
Yeah, totally. Happily married.
Yeah.
But, if you go at it kind of from that grunge, then you don't think that you'll have much success. But if you go at it genuinely, like looking to try and help somebody, I think that you get a lot of that with, you attract more bees with honey than vinegar. So we buy properties for like off market. We're always trying to find a value proposition to bring to the table, other than the fact that we're, you don't have to pay us a commission, right?
Yeah.
And we always disclose, like, I have a real estate license, so I always have to disclose that I'm a realtor and I'm being my broker record sign. It's just super annoying, but it is what it is.
I always used to get them to sign an extra thing saying, hey, I'm buying this for fair market value, and because I've had people come back.
And we've done it that we acknowledge the fact this property needs work, and that with capital invested into the property, that the valuation of the property will be worth more.
Yeah.
So, and we also give everybody a chance to review it with their lawyers, friends, or family, and it has to be signed. Anyway, you got to go through that, but we also we clean up people's garbage. We bought units that have been where the tenants have completely trashed the place, and the copper wires being ripped out of the walls, and people don't know what the heck to do with it. We bought properties that had dog crap smeared on the ceilings and the walls.
I remember that. We did the video there, but I'll link your video down below. The cheapest house in Hamilton. After you guys watch this, definitely go watch that. That was we went through 2 properties that day.
Oh, Kensington.
Oh
yeah. That one was gross for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. But we end up buying a lot of feces-filled houses.
Yeah, well, because to be honest, you polish a turd, right?
Oh, proudly.
Yeah. On that note, but to find those turds, you're just putting in that little bit of extra effort, right?
Just to clarify, we're not just polishing these turds. We're making very nice houses.
I know you are. I know, and we are gonna do
the idea of polishing a turd is like painting the floor. That's what.
Yes, I get that. No, you clean it. You come and you fix it. You repair any structural issues. I know what you do.
I know.
So
but your viewers
the
don't.
YouTube viewers, they know. No, maybe they don't. So now they do. So on that note, thanks so much for dropping in.
Always a pleasure.
Definitely appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, if we can do anything to help you out, let us know.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
Definitely follow him on Instagram.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.